looks like we're about to get started here. Hello, everyone. Hang on, let me switch to grid mode so I can see all of you real quick. There you are. Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for coming in. Go ahead and grab a seat. Get settled in. For those of you who are new here, welcome to the Metaverse. You might be asking why this space matters. Kind of feels like Zoom, but a video game. SoWork is a series of digital offices that empower teams to crush it from anywhere in the world. In my opinion, it's the future of remote work, digital teaming, and the introductory stage to the Metaverse, which is why we're all here to talk about what the Metaverse is and what it means. Feel free during the presentation to update your avatar's look. You can do that by clicking on some of the controls down in the bottom left-hand corner. You can use Map Maker to change your space, the chair, the rugs, the plants, pretty much anything you want. So let's just jump right in. We are here to talk about the Metaverse and the impact that it is having on the way that we work.
What is a blockchain?
Crypto networks.
Smart contracts.
Smart contracts.
NFT.
The Metaverse.
Work and play as avatars, digital representations of their identity.
Non-fungible tokens.
This blockchain thing.
So what exactly are NFTs and why are they suddenly being sold for millions?
A lot of you have questions about what is the Metaverse? What role does it play in Web 3.0? What is Bitcoin? What is cryptocurrency? All of these questions that we have, I'm not going to dig too far into the logistics here. What I'm really focused on is the impact that the Metaverse is having on the way that we work. That's the main focus here today, but I do have a couple other videos that I'd love to share with you about some of those more basic principles around the Metaverse, so feel free to check those out on my YouTube channel. But that being said, let's just jump in. The pandemic, which is our shared experience, was the single most impactful disruption of the workplace since Henry Ford announced the 9-to-5. And what felt like an abrupt halt of productivity for some opened up a window of possibilities for others. But unfortunately, we got stuck with some uninspiring digital tools to do our work. Zoom fatigue became a part of our vernacular, getting Slack bombed, and the constant feeling of burnout become familiar experiences for all of us. In short, the general lack of humanness in the workplace became an accepted and tragic reality. That's not to say that digital work can't be human, but digital environments that allowed us to be human have yet to be invented. That's why the Metaverse is such a buzzy and intriguing concept for digital-first organizations. It represents what remote work could be like, full of rich human interactions, productivity, and unimaginable possibilities. I get super excited about it because I know that we're gonna find a way to make remote work more human. I like Natasha's comment here. Natasha, you said, corporate wants us to return to the office and go back to how it was. We just don't understand how the Metaverse works. I think that's true. I believe the future of distributed teams is the Metaverse, but it's hard to grasp what it means when it doesn't quite exist yet. So to understand the impact of the Metaverse on the future of work, we need to look no further than the current pains remote workers are facing and observe the solutions a virtual decentralized world can provide. You heard that word decentralized. I'm going to be using it a lot, so tune into that. But what we all need to do is to adapt an entirely new mentality. It's not about the antiquated concepts of employee engagement, making work more human, which is my favorite buzzword. It's about realizing a new form of work made possible through blockchain technology, crypto networks, and smart contracts to give workers ownership, flexibility, and agency in the way that they contribute to society. Today, I'm going to be highlighting 3 key, what I like to call freedoms, the Metaverse grants its contributors, and why it's such a foundational shift from work as we know it today. Are you all ready to jump in? Let me get a pulse on y'all. Are y'all ready? Can I get a few emojis? Hit on the keyboard 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 to send some emojis across the screen. There we go. See, we're getting familiar with this stuff already. All right, the first freedom is ownership. The corporate world is terribly extractive. If you've ever worked in corporate America, you know that most businesses require employees to sign an agreement that their inventions, ideas, frameworks, and products all belong to the company. Their employee is required to give up their right to the value they generate for the company, and any royalties are forfeited to the shareholders. Some employees, and you might know some, have generated immense value for companies and they walk away with a little bit more than a paycheck and health benefits. As workers demand fair compensation for their contributions, the popular solution to date is to give employees equity in the company, distribute stocks so they can have some skin in the game. Often these percentages are minuscule, with a long vesting schedule that keeps employees tied to the company for as long as possible. And their equity has little to no correlation to the actual work that they are performing. It's a static number agreed upon beforehand without considering the amount of value generated by that employee. Web 3.0 and the metaverse provide a better solution through a decentralized system held together by a smart contract and recorded on the blockchain. Translation into English, what that means is it allows contributors to retain a much greater percentage, if not all, of the value that they generate. This is why employees will eventually favor working in the metaverse over traditional employment. I mean, take a look at the transformation of open source platforms like YouTube, Uber, or Airbnb to understand the shift towards contributor-based model. Rather than employ millions of workers, they leverage orbital stakeholders, that's the individuals who are creating the content or driving the vehicles or putting up their homes for you to stay in, orbital stakeholders to generate shared value. These are the content creators, the drivers, the hosts who leverage their own assets to generate value in exchange for the company's provided business framework. However, in order to stay competitive, these companies require a majority of the orbital stakeholders' profits to keep the lights on. Not to mention contributors don't get to control their data, how it's sold, or any benefit from it. Thus, contributors end up working much harder for a lot less. I personally know how this feels. I was a YouTuber for 6 years of my life. It was a really fun way to share my family and my life and my passions with the world, and I loved watching, getting views, but the pay was so minuscule, and I felt so extractive in a way that, like, I ran so fast and so hard at making these videos, and the payoff was so little that I became interested in finding new ways to get compensated fairly for the value that I was generating for YouTube as a platform. I know I was going to say decentralized a lot. In this scenario, a centralized organization is YouTube, Airbnb, and Uber, who are setting the rules, dictating how the money gets paid out, and obviously they have a framework there that we're leveraging. But a decentralized system is interesting because it removes the need for decision holders and it provides more autonomy to those orbital stakeholders, those creators, those hosts. What's more attractive to these individuals is a DAO, or decentralized autonomous organization, that is held together by a smart contract and allows contributors to retain a higher percentage, if not all, of their proceeds, own their data, and decide how much or how little they work. I'm curious if anyone here, let me check, has anyone here ever taken a venture into like being a freelancer on Upwork, or being a subcontractor for an organization instead of actually working directly for that organization? And if you liked that, if you didn't like that, go ahead and hit that up in the chat right now. I'd love to hear your guys' experience, and we'll keep moving along here. But I just wanted to highlight that when employees begin to realize that this type of earning is possible, they'll abandon traditional work. The younger generation has already abandoned it. The metaverse offers a Web 3.0 ecosystem where inventions, ideas, frameworks, and products are owned by the contributor, who has the flexibility to work for several DAOs at once and can pick and choose several streams of income. You don't have to work for, quote, the man anymore. You have the flexibility to choose how, when, where, and why you work. We're already seeing this with freelancers on Upwork and other freelance sites. They're able to go out and work for themselves. And yes, there are a lot of perks for working for a company directly, but these individuals don't have to work for a company, and they do have that flexibility. This style of work is going to get more and more attractive, especially with the advent of Web 3.0. They're going to be able to plug right into a Discord server where they are working with individuals that they like on a project that they like, and they're going to be able to sell that value to DAOs, organizations, for profit that they get to keep 100% on their own. Okay, next is flexibility. When referring to flexibility, we tend to think in terms of work schedule, like how many hours worked, how many days on the clock, the amount of PTO that we get. And while there is a major push to individualize and customize work schedules, the metaverse expands the definition of flexibility from working within an organization to contributing to an ecosystem. Workers have the flexibility to choose how many DAOs they work for at a time, what types of work they wish to engage in, how often they work, and from where. The openness of these crypto economies will allow workers to participate in several DAOs and crypto networks, mixing and matching different income streams and ownership returns. It's a really exciting way to think about work in ways that we haven't thought of it before. Not until the pandemic disrupted us that we said, oh, we do have the flexibility, and the employee-employer relationship is starting to shift in my favor so that I can go and work as a distributed team. Companies can hire global talent, and we start to build this economy where little pockets of value are being added from many, many, many different places, not just one corporate entity. Take a look at the gig economy as the precursor to the metaverse, where subcontractors are hired for specialized roles to work in marketplaces as a service. Work 3.0 ecosystems allow a much more intensive menu of work and streams of income to choose from. The emergence of alternative forms of earning, such as influencers, creators, gig economy participants, is the transition away from traditional work to what's being referred to as the passion economy. The passion economy and the ownership economy are taking the world by storm. These ways of earning don't necessarily feel like work. From content generation to play-to-earn opportunities, people can join a crypto network hyper-tailored to their interests and generate wealth doing what they love. The traditional work contract will eventually evaporate and partnerships will take its place. I'll say it again. The traditional work contract will eventually evaporate and work partnerships will take its place. The metaverse offers unlimited flexibility to workers to discover work streams that have yet to be imagined. Jayant from India just commented, my company is currently trying to implement a metaverse strategy. Where do we begin? That is a great question because one, the metaverse doesn't even exist yet. We're getting there, but it's just an ambition. It's a theory. I know that it might feel early to some to be jumping into the metaverse, but we also got to realize that there are companies and startups building it right now, and that technology, even though it's not visible to the eye, is going to break onto the surface and become $1 trillion industry in a matter of years. So right now is a perfect opportunity for individuals to jump in and start creating that world together, and in so doing, we're gonna find our way through it. So I'm just saying that if you're building a metaverse strategy right now, Jayant, it's a great idea. It's something that you should be thinking of. Let's definitely consult a little further about that. But yeah, what does it look like to actually create a metaverse strategy? It's really deciding how can we leverage these new technologies for the betterment of our company and our employees. Great question. Let's keep moving on to the third freedom, which is agency. Okay, so traditional corporate employment is rapidly becoming outdated, in my opinion, as a means for coordinating activity in the information age. Think about going to college. It's fascinating because, especially in the technology field and like IT and information systems, a lot of these professors are focused on, their studies, and they're moving as fast as they can, but the curriculum becomes outdated very quickly because we have the information available to us. And if a high schooler has the information they need to go out and do the exact same work or add the value as some other Ivy League graduate, I don't know about you, but I would hire that individual first because they know what they're doing. They've been in the trenches. That's a popular quote by Elon Musk, right? I'm sure you've heard of it, that, he would rather hire that high schooler who knows what they're doing rather than these individuals who have credentials from an Ivy League school. And that hurts my heart, having graduated from Ivy League school. But I just think that in the age of information, you can find a way and you can make it happen for yourself. The metaverse, Web 3.0, is going to create that environment where those individuals don't need a piece of paper that says they've graduated, that they've checked the box. They can immediately start adding that value. the minute they become passionate about whatever it is they're thinking about. So corporations made sense for a centralized group of decision makers who set goals and workflows for employees. When they needed to control the flow of information, they needed to control the way that the work was being done. They needed to build processes. But open source platforms have proven to move much faster because they don't dictate how the work gets done. They simply provide a framework and leave it to the contributors to decide. A perfect example of this is Discord servers. So I don't know if any of you are on Discord. It's definitely a Gen Z platform, but if you look at it at first glance, it just looks like Slack. It's a Slack for gamers. And if you look at their branding on their website, it's very much focused on hanging out with your friends and getting things done. But what's fascinating about these platforms is you can join a server in the places that you're excited about. So if you love playing Fortnite, you can join a server, and there's hundreds of thousands of these servers, especially around Fortnite, about the elements that you like. And what we're learning is that there is a group of individuals who have a problem with the game or who have found a bug, and they code and solve that issue, and they end up selling that to Fortnite as a patch. That is just a group of individuals passionate about the work and adding to things that they really love and actually getting paid for that. That's the type of disruption that we're talking about. I believe that Discord is like Web 2.5 right now. It's still a platform where you have to Slack and chat in this way. It's not an inclusive world that you get to be a part of, but it is a way for individuals to, one, generate value in the passion economy, and two, get to own that value. I hope that makes sense in terms of what a decentralized system is. There's no one really guiding these servers. There's no one really at the head, just individuals who are passionate, who are generating value. We can leverage these decentralized workplaces facilitated by a smart contract. A smart contract essentially is a set of rules built straight into the code of the quote organization, the DAO, and the smart contract dictates essentially who gets paid when, who does what when, how can we leverage like orbital stakeholders, core contributors, bounty hunters, all terms within the metaverse to generate that value. Said another way, a smart contract is powered by equal contributors, removes the need for a central group of executives making plans, setting goals, and sending those directives down the chain of command. Okay, traditionally employees have to take 100% of their directives from the boss, who they have to trust is leading the company where it needs to go. By contrast, a smart contract and DAO removes the need for a central decision maker. It focuses on the main objective or commander's intent. What I mean by commander's intent, if any of you have read Dan and Chip's book, Made to Stick, he's talking about in the military, no plan survives contact with the enemy. But if we understand the commander's intent, the objective that we're trying to accomplish, then we can find other ways, maybe outside of the plan, to achieve that mission. Okay, so that allows teams motivated by their passion to accomplish the objective on their own terms. Think of like hackathons where there's a main objective and teams can go out there, solve a problem, and there's not a lot of direction on how they do it, but just solve the problem, and you can look at the ways that people solve that problem, and you'd be blown away by the way and the creativity that individuals use to solve those problems. User-generated content is another one. I don't think YouTube, when it first started, ever imagined the way that creators have taken that platform and elevated it based on mini cooking. Who thought mini cooking was going to be a thing? Or some of these influencers that are just dominating their space by making high quality videos. When you give the power to the individual or the group to choose how they use the platform, choose how they want to generate the value, that's when you start to see the genius of the metaverse. Okay, to put a cap on that, workers will leverage platforms like Discord, as I mentioned, to join servers, add value, and grow a DAO without ever having a formal boss to give them orders. In short, the metaverse will unlock the ability for workers to work for themselves on their own terms, owning their value and contributing how they want and wherever they want in the world. I know that there are probably a lot of questions around the shortcomings of the metaverse. There are a lot of them, to be honest. The first and foremost being, it doesn't exist yet. Also, will the system actually work for jobs that no one wants? For instance, like, who's going to be the janitor or the frontline worker or the sanitation engineer, if you will? Will work actually get done is another big question. Like, if you've been looking at the numbers that Gallup has been putting out for almost a decade now around disengagement, you will see that there is a large portion of the workforce that is disengaged in work. What happens to them? Well, the concept is that you will no longer hire individuals who then become disenchanted with the work and disengage and just sit there for years and years doing the bare minimum. You have highly engaged, highly motivated individuals getting their work done because they want to get it done. And a side note on that, it's interesting that a lot of these workplace problems that we've been experiencing for decades, for instance, employees don't quit their job, they quit their boss. How do we get managers to be better managers? How do we hire and promote the right individuals to be better and stronger managers? I believe that we don't need management as much as we think we do. Management is a tool that we invented to make sure that people's work is getting done, that we're checking up on those disengaged employees, cracking the whip, pushing the work forward. We don't need that type of management style in the metaverse. What we need is a smart contract that ties us together, keeps us accountable, and helps us to move forward the work that we care about. Another big complaint that people give is crypto stable enough to compensate employees? Crypto is completely unstable. The foundation is constantly shifting. Does that change the fact that this technology has the power to change the way that we finance organizations? I wish I could give you an answer. The answer I can give you right now is we'll see. All right, so my final thoughts, and thank you for sticking with us towards the end here. It may seem today that the metaverse is a far distant and utopian aspiration, but when you look very closely at the real problems that HR departments are facing today around recruitment and retention, digital transformation and engagement, managing, training, etc., designing better employee experiences is not enough to solve these complex problems in a rapidly evolving digital landscape where employees are taking back their power and seeking non-traditional streams of income. Companies have been trying to solve the persistent people problems of the corporate workplace for decades and are falling further and further behind with the acceleration of technology. It's time to embrace an entirely new model that removes the least favorable aspects of corporate structure and puts in place systems that employees actually like. Regardless of how you feel about the metaverse, employees will choose the metaverse, just as they are choosing distributed remote opportunities instead of returning to the office. There are actions companies can take today to prepare themselves for the inevitable transition to the digital workplace known as the metaverse. The future of work is not employment, my friends. It's the metaverse. Thank you so much for attending today. Feel free to explore this space and meet one another. You can spin up your own office today. Start holding better meetings in the metaverse for free. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at Josh Green or on your favorite social media platforms. Also, be sure to join me at the Future Workforce Conference in October. We'll look forward to seeing you there. Feel free to stick around. I'll be right here. You can run up to me and ask any questions. Thank you everyone for being here, and we will see you then.